Okay, so Glenda asks a very pertinent question. Owners always have a problem to pay the plumber directly for the excess when replacing the geyser. They don't just seem to want to do that. Then the problem is that the flat has a tenant, same problem. Can this not perhaps be done via the body corporate, and then the body corporate debit the levy account? The plumber must just understand that he is not getting his money up front of the 1,500. Perhaps the small amount of 1,500 Rand or 2,000 Rand is not going to pay the materials of labor. Any other suggestions? So what Glenda is getting at is there a way that the plumber perhaps could wait for his money for the excess until the body corporate has got it to the plumber, because after all, it's the profit part of the transaction. Okay, Glenda, so I'm going to first answer. I'm going to get Glenn to answer it as well, so that Glenn doesn't feel rude by answering it. Okay, so as we mentioned during the event, one of the problems that you have is that the call center plumbers in particular, we're not talking about Joe Blogg's plumbers who might just do the odd body corporate, but we're talking about particularly the call center plumbers. They might be doing 300 or 500 geysers a month. And even if one of the call center plumbers had to wait for 2,000 Rand times 500 at any one time, you can see there can be R1 million out of pocket. That's assuming they get paid in a rolling period. But over a rolling period, if it takes a month to pay the plumber, he could be 5 million Rand out of pocket. Where's he going to get that money? So whilst it might seem small as one event, it's big for the plumbers. They have to get it up front. Okay, it's the same as if I go to the doctor. I had a heart attack once. I walked into the medical center. I had to first fill in a form while I was having a heart attack. Unfortunately, it's just life. Okay, Glenn, do you want to add to that?
No, Mike, you're 100% correct. We're not allowed to, we get complete pre-approval to do whatever we need to do on the basis that we receive the excess. If the homeowners and the tenants or the trustees or the managing agents or whoever is sort of somewhat against that, the simplest thing is to approach the broker and request a null excess so that they don't have to pay an excess. It's quite simple. The insurers are quite willing to offer you a null excess. There are many policies where there is a null excess. So yeah, on the basis that there is an excess, it is payable up front before any work is done, and it has to be paid before any work is done. It's not negotiable in our space, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Glenda, it's actually a very good question. So don't get me wrong. It's a common problem. So it's something. It's a common problem that Glenn and I have been facing. And this is a bit of a longer answer because it deserves a bit of extra input. So what we have found that even where the body's corporate set up their own fund, which I initially as a broker thought was a very good idea, was that they set up, and I still do in theory, they each pay 30 Rand a month and the body corporate builds up their own fund. The poor plumber has still got to wait a month to get his money out of them. And then the poor plumber's still got to phone and follow up on why they haven't got paid yet. So not only is the money outstanding, but there's an extra administrative burden on it. It is a problem we're trying to solve. All I can say is from an insurance point of view, the best way, I was at an AGM tonight, and I've told the trustees, go with a null excess. Go with a null excess. It's the only way. Then the problem is solved. Okay, so for the time being, we do have some other ideas, but for the time being, go for a null excess. That's the only other alternative.